Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, people of all ages, sexualities, and identities, and welcome back, me old Chinas, to another Doctor Who review. And today's Doctor Who review is another Big Finish audio, and this time, today's one is an absolute treat. It's 13th Doctor and Yaz's story, Vampire Weekend. So, without further ado, let's jump right into the story. Yaz has gone home to settle back into ordinary life, and what could be more ordinary than a hen night? She goes off with her mates into a secluded area in which they go and stay the week in the bride's mum's house. Now the bride was supposed to be invited to her own hen night, but due to issues, she doesn't seem to have turned up yet. She seems rather late. Yaz seems to get a very strange sense of foreboding as things start to become odder and odder and odder. She at first asks whether everyone knows the name of the bride's mum, and they all point out they don't. This to her becomes the most oddest part of the mystery. But all of a sudden, when she goes to the door, hoping to see the bride at the door, none other than the Doctor, Jodie Whittaker, turns up with some chickens and some eggs. The Doctor, although trying to keep under the wraps, slightly starts to hint to Yaz that something isn't quite right with this weekend getaway. It turns out that the Doctor has put up a force field because she suspects something to be around the property. She doesn't want to let this away to Yaz and her friends, but she knows eventually that the game is going to be up. After a couple of incidences where people start to get bitten, the Doctor has to give the jig up and explain that there is a vampire on the property somewhere. She also explains this is not the first time she's dealt with vampires, as there is a long-going history of the Time Lords and the vampires fighting in a war. The Doctor is worried that another war may ensue if the vampire gets what it wants. So, with the help of Detective Yaz, the pair of them go round investigating, hoping to find clues behind the mystery. They begin to pin down their suspects as the Doctor's screwdriver tells them there's only 10 people on the property. So it must be one of them, mustn't it? Watson, the game's afoot. The story becomes rather awkward at one point when we get closer into the detail of exactly what type of vampire this is. Rather than sucking your blood and turning you white as a sheet, instead this vampire happens to be a truth vampire. Think of your dirty, darkest secrets. Then just know that they won't be secrets for much longer. Yes, this vampire does start to make the group get on their toes when they start to realise that any second, if they get bitten, they're going to find out something. One of the group begins to admit to cheating and a lot of other stuff, all due down to someone's nudes, which, let's just say, becomes a very awkward conversation, and no one in the room can look at them straight. Well, to be fair, can you blame them? Back to the story at hand. So there's only 2 suspects left as the Doctor and Yaz go down to the basement and find the shredded generator. Whilst working away their magic and splitting up between them and 2 of Yaz's friends, / the mum of the bride, the Doctor and Yaz begin to have a very deep conversation about their relationship. The Doctor and Yaz later on begin to point out the fact that they're not too sure whether one or the other is a vampire. Yaz begins to blame the Doctor and the Doctor begins to blame Yaz. But they both point out that in truth they know that they miss and love each other very much. But then Yaz remembers the time she was attacked by the vampire and the clues start clicking into place. What could be the whole jig? Well, Yaz remembers that the vampire very distinctly smelled of strawberries. It turns out, though, that one of Yaz's friends is baking cupcakes in the kitchen. So Yaz begins to blame her left, right and centre and says, "You must be the vampire, my friend, because you're the only one who smells of strawberries." Her friend then has a kind of breakdown as she admits to Yaz the fact that she only bakes because it helps her calm her nerves, get her zen on. And that is when she collapses to the floor. The Doctor and Yaz eventually decide this means they must rule that out. Whilst going further through the plot, they begin to realise that, in fact, it was none of the housemates at all. In fact, it was the mysterious dog. Yes, the dog was the vampire all along. When Yaz is cornered and the Doctor runs off to her TARDIS because of a effect that the vampire has had on her, Yaz begins to realise that she is face to face with the thing that scares her the most. The vampire then divulges to Yaz the fact that it has a little bit of a suicide pact. It's only come there to infect all of her friends because it knows when it dies that the gene of the great vampire will live on in them, creating a new race of vampires to scourge across the universe and eat away at what remains. The Doctor then does a lot of wibbly wobbly timey wimey stuff, stopping the vampire in its tracks and helping history in the meantime. She saves the day from all of this, and of course, Yaz wakes up the next day, realising she has no recollection of exactly what happened the night before, and of course, neither does anyone else. The Doctor kind of gives a white lie, though, to the bride's mum by basically saying that she loves hens. She loves chickens. And why not give her Ian and Barbara as chickens? So, a vampire's weekend. What did I think? Well, for a start, I just want to say I was really wondering where the Jodie Whittaker Big Finish was going to go. And I've got to say, I think this is an absolutely great start. Like I said before, with the Fugitive Doctor and the Sacha Dhawan Master, I really feel like Big Finish has a solid story building when it comes to these stories, and they really give them more than they got on TV. And for that reason, I give Vampire Weekend a solid 10 out of 10 in neon lights. Thank you for watching. We will see you in the next Doctor Who review. Till then, goodbye, and Alan Z, you beautiful Whovians. Love ya.